Let's head now to Cape Town in South Africa and the fifth Finance in Commons Summit, which brings together public development banks from around the world. They're discussing issues including how to make finance more inclusive, how to develop infrastructure, and how to mitigate climate change. And we can speak now to the Vice President of the African Development Bank, Solomon Quaynor. Welcome to the programme. What are you hoping that this meeting achieves?
No, thank you very much for inviting me to the program. Very clearly, we're off track in terms of achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, 2030, and also our efforts really around climate action have been unfortunately delayed as well. One of the key objectives really of the Finance and Commons Summit is to really collectively, as a system, the multilateral development banks, the public development banks, private sector, philanthropies, governments, how do we work together to really expedite getting solutions to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and also the climate action objectives.
It strikes me to make progress on that, you need political buy-in, because if we're falling behind on climate change targets, that's largely because of political failings around the world, is it not? So these are difficult conversations to have, to influence.
No, you're absolutely right. We need political commitments, and this is why multilateralism continues to be important, and why we're also rallying, governments, also the public development banks, which tend to also represent governments both in the developed world and also in the developing world, are really coming together. Yes, it would be great to have, collective consensus buy-in politically across the world. But as long as we continue to realize that, climate change, is a global public, issue and not really national issues, and we have to work collectively, we do believe that, the political commitment will continue to be strengthened.
The African continent, along with many developing countries, bears the brunt in many ways of climate change, and yet is not responsible for the bulk of it. That is a moral argument, but is it a political, economic argument that carries weight with the holders of big money who could make a difference?
First of all, I would say the ownership of, the point you just made is really the African countries, the African private sector, because we are experiencing the extreme weather events. And so for us, the reality of, climate change impacts, which is also impacting our own development and industrialization, is our reality. Whether or not we're disproportionately affected, which is the case, and that's part of the reason also that we do need support from the developing world. We have to find innovative solutions to really address, these climate impacts.
You believe, I think, that foreign direct investment is a more powerful tool than aid, or at least that the balance should be pushed more in that direction. Why?
No, that's because if you take a look really at the fiscal space in a lot of African countries, there's limited fiscal space, high debt burdens, and hence, governments additionally borrowing is not a possibility as a solution. And hence, private sector is going to be very important in delivering climate resilient or green infrastructure. And so this is why we're focusing really on private sector, and that includes foreign direct investments, but it also includes African investments as
Mm.
well. So for us, it's really about private sector participation in really delivering the climate actions and climate agenda.
Solomon Quaynor, Vice President of the African Development Bank, speaking to us from Cape Town. Thank you.